We're back at the Rappler News Center, and we're very happy to have with us here Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, who is with us here live and to talk about preparations for the elections. Good afternoon, Commissioner Guanzon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Cheche.
Thank you for coming over to the Rappler newsroom to discuss with us the preparations for the elections. Are we ready for tomorrow?
Yes, we are ready. All the VCMs have been delivered. They're now at the hubs, and I'm sure tomorrow. But today is Sunday.
Yes.
They're now at the precincts, and all the ballots were already ready as of Friday. They're with the municipal and city treasurers. And you have to give it to the election officers because they bring the VCMs and the ballots and everything,
Yes.
the batteries, by any means that they can. On a carosa,
Yeah, we
on
saw
a jeepney,
we saw video of.
banca.
That's
you know.
right. That's right.
And so we really have to give credit to our election officers for such hard work.
How are you, if you were to describe the preparations, are you in a scale of 10? Are you at 10? Where are you as of this time?
Well, you can't really prepare for all eventualities, but in terms of delivery of everything that we need, we're at 10. But can we anticipate the problems? We try, but that's based on experience, right? So
Yes.
it's institutional experience, how you predict what can probably happen here in this area and that area. So we place some locations under Comelec control so that we minimize the risk of failure of election in those places like Jones, Isabela, Pantar, Lanao, Del Sur.
You have identified these areas as possible problematic areas.
Oh, they are problematic, so we put them under Comelec control.
Okay. When you say problematic, what does that mean?
It means there are private armed groups there, or there are New People's Army that can probably use violence and threats to stall or delay or stop the elections.
And so, when you say Comelec control, can you tell us what that means?
Well, under the law, the Comelec has jurisdiction over almost everyone, including the media,
Yes,
during
yes.
election period.
Yes, that's true.
But Comelec control means that our commission can even, up to the extent of supervising the release or disbursement of funds of these towns or provinces, and that there will be a very visible military and police presence under, again, the supervision of our election officer or our provincial election supervisors.
So, but you'll still be using teachers, you'll still be using
Of course, yes.
private volunteers.
For the Board of Election Inspectors,
Yes,
yes. And
yes.
For backup, we are training police trainees who have a college degree in case there are areas where the teachers cannot serve or they don't want to serve because they're scared.
Yes. Is that happening? I mean, are there teachers? I mean, we heard some stories of teachers who are hesitant to go to their polling places because of possible threats.
Yes, that's probably that's very true in some few remote areas.
Yes.
So we're prepared for that eventuality,
Okay.
that the police trainees can take over, and they were trained. So all these Board of Election Inspectors are trained. They all have their gadgets. Nobody can open the machine except them because they all have their signatures. They have like our password that
Yes.
they punch in the machine to
Yes.
open it in front of all the watchers, and so it's a go.
It's a go. All systems go.
Yes, it says all systems go. On Monday, you will see us in the PICC for the canvassing of the senatorial and party list votes. The Unbank of the Comelec will convene as a national board of canvassers for the Senate
Yes.
and the party list every day until it's finished.
Yes. Okay. Let's go back to some of the anticipated problems. So you're saying the identified problem areas are those that have private armies and armed groups. What are the other problems that you are preparing for?
Well, some machines might not start up,
Yes.
as machines do.
Yes, yes. So what happens?
So there are reserve machines, right?
Does
And-
every precinct have a reserve machine?
Well, at least the vicinity, right? So, in the overseas voting, there were 17 machines that didn't work. And
17?
17. 17. Yeah.
Oh, and what happened?
So, Commissioner Art Lim wanted to, he investigated, and it's It's because the machine is left too long. Diba? In the overseas voting, it's on the whole day. All day, because you have to wait.
Okay.
And then they voted from April 9 to May 9. Right?
Not
It's
just
like
one day.
30 days.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
the probable cause is that it's just overworked. So it
Yes.
just has to rest, like most
Okay.
machines really have to rest after a
Okay.
while. But it's not like it's faulty or rigged and all that. So
Okay.
also that we decided on replacement ballots. Say, for example, your ballot will not feed into the machine for some
Yes.
reason, and it's not your fault. The Board of Election Inspector will give you another ballot, but you're only allowed one more ballot. And if it's their bad luck that it still won't, because it's crumpled or what,
That's it.
that's it.
So you just have one other chance if you have a spoiled ballot.
You're right, but then it's also written in the minutes of voting.
Okay.
Everything should be recorded. All the political parties have been trained. They came to all the meetings, I hope,
Yeah.
including the transmission tests and all that. I mean, this has been very transparent for all political parties so that their watchers would know what to do.
This is our third automated election, right? Is that
yes,
correct?
yeah.
Our third automation. Have all the kinks and all the problems of the previous elections using the automated system been ironed out?
Well, one major problem in the old machines was this line that looks like, when you send a fax,
Yes.
a
Yes.
line comes out,
Yes.
and then it hits all the circles,
Yes.
so the ballot is spoiled. And that's
okay.
probably, they say, the cause was, the machine is old, there's dust, and so
Are we
the
u-
scanner didn't work that well. So
Yeah.
now this is a new machine. We
Okay.
leased new machines, they're upgraded, they're smarter, they're faster, and now, as you can see, there's a voter's receipt.
Okay.
But aside from the voter's receipt, you have a screen that for 1 second, you will see who you voted for president and vice president, aside from the voter's receipt.
Okay. Now, this idea of the voter's receipt is to confirm my vote.
Yes.
That's what it is. And if I have complaints, I could complain.
Yes,
Okay.
with the Board of Election Inspectors.
All right.
And they will write it down in the minutes and you sign. If you have a complaint that it doesn't match your vote,
Yeah.
the voter is supposed to sign at the back of the receipt and complain to the Board of Election Inspectors, and they will write down in the minutes and they will segregate your voter's receipts.
Okay.
So that it goes all the way up back to central office, and someday if the candidate has a protest, perhaps that can be useful. But we reiterate that all protests, the best evidence is the ballot. We're still going to look at the ballot. We're not looking at the receipts. So
okay.
for protests, we're going to look at
Each ballot.
hard copy ballot. That's what I do. In my office now, there are still pending cases. I'm sorry, I inherited more than
From
a
the
few.
last election.
From the commissioner that I took over from.
Yes.
And like my pantry, my kitchen office is full of these ballots that we have to scrutinize. So it's election
okay.
time, and yet some protests are not yet finished. It's just
And their
impossible.
terms of office might have already elapsed.
Well, up to June 30. Yes.
Okay. I guess on top of everybody's mind is the idea that their vote may not be counted or they may be cheated. How possible is this in this election?
Well, cheated by the machine is
Or cheated?
very
by-
impossible.
Very impossible.
Yes, some people are saying that there's a way to transmit the votes, intercept the transmission, and dagdag and bawas, add and minus to some
Yes.
some candidates, but that's virtually impossible.
Why?
Because the transmission space, when the teacher transmits the results, that space is internet space opens only for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, it will close. It's just 2 minutes enough for us to transmit the results from that machine, and then it will close.
How different is that from the past? I mean, in the past automated elections, was it also 2 minutes or was it more than 2
Probably
minutes?
a little more, but the same. But we learned. We should learn our lessons. I was not yet commissioner then, but
Yes.
the transmission had problems. Like 25% not transmitted, but they were manually uploaded, so they were counted. But
Okay.
now we're trying. Smartmatic says that they have tested it in areas where there's poor network, which was not done before.
Yes.
And so now we can anticipate exactly where the transmission will be poorest.
And what will you do in areas where the transmission is poor or there's no internet? How will you transmit?
The teacher, the Board of Election Inspectors, and the watchers,
Yes.
because there's an election returns that's
Yes.
printed.
Yes.
They transmit or print the election returns. So everybody has a copy, right? There are eight copies
At the precinct.
Yes,
At the precinct.
So they hold on to it.
Yeah.
Then they all go, as you know, we used
Yes.
to do this.
Yes.
They
All
all
together.
Yes, all together, and that's when you see human nature
Yes.
at its best.
That's-
when they have nothing to eat and they're all tired and they become friends.
Yeah.
So they all go together to the municipio, the municipal hall, the city hall, and there surely there will be a network, right? So
Okay.
your votes are not lost because there's a hard copy. There's an election return, which will
Okay, you have a
be
hard
returned
copy.
to central office.
Yes.
And that's also used for protests.
You have a hard copy, it's transmitted.
Yes, and the political parties watchers have
Okay.
copies.
But we had that in the past, even when we were doing manual elections, right? There was a
Yes.
hard copy, it's brought to the municipio, and
Yes.
yet magic happened. What?
Yes, because they tampered with the canvassing results.
How
right?
sure are we that it cannot be tampered with
Because
this
now
time?
the political parties, this is a tight race. So they have watchers, they have substitute watchers, they have.
Yeah, but even though, it has been done in the past, it's been proven that
Well, it's
people
the
have been able
teachers.
to get
It's the teachers. The key here are the teachers.
Yes.
So, I think the teachers also, to their credit, they work very long hours for
yes.
this.
Will they be working as long now compared to, let's say,
Well, it's-
during the manual period?
It's definitely less.
Less.
It's definitely cut by at least 100%. I mean, they end at 5, but within 30 meters, if the voter is standing there in line, the
Yeah.
voter has to vote. So let's
Yes.
say up to 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, they transmit it. Let's say up to 8:30, they fix things to go to the municipio, the treasurer's office.
Yes, yes.
So thereabouts by 10 o'clock, perhaps you will have a mayor of Makati.
Already.
Yeah.
Already. And you will convene as a unbanked.
For the canvassing of the senators and the party list.
Okay. And what
Because
kind
the local government officials, they're
Yes.
proclaimed there at their level by our provincial election supervisors or election officers.
Have you given a deadline for when this proclamation should be done? Is there a timetable for it?
Oh no, but as soon as,
As soon as possible.
yeah, as soon as
And it
it's
becomes
it's-
official
oh,
right
yeah.
away?
Yes.
Ah.
And if there's a problem, they can always file a protest.
Okay.
There's a law for this.
All right. Now, when the they always say that the Filipinos is so ingenious that he can learn the system and override the system. Have you been able to tackle possible scenarios where the cheaters or those who wish to change the will of the people can do their stuff?
Okay, for one thing, the SD cards, it won't work if it's not configured for that machine. So they must have had access to our configuration codes or whatever,
Earlier.
and I don't think they can do that because our people were sequestered. And it's not just one person.
Your people were
Comelec.
sequestered?
Yes, I mean sequestered, quote unquote. They're
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
supposed to leave the place.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
They're all housed there. They're housed in the place.
Okay.
And they're scattered. You'll have to
Gather enough.
you'll have to kidnap maybe 30 people
Yes.
to get this, copy of the code that will configure your SD card. And it's too much work. All the SD cards are already there. So,
So-
we had to make sure
Yeah.
that the chain of custody, as in criminal law, chain of custody
Yes.
of the machines and the SD cards
Yeah.
is very tight, very clear.
Is it possible that in transit it could have been intercepted or it could have been...
But the machine won't work if it's a different SD card. There are two SD cards because if the first one fails, you can back up. Second one.
Okay.
All of those SD cards have to be brought back to our central office, just like everything else has to be brought back.
All right.
machine the ballots, the receipts, all the complaints, the minutes.
What makes this election this year different from, let's say, 2013? How different is it?
Well, this
what
is a
has
national
changed?
election, Cheche. So
Okay.
there's it's a tightly contested race for president and vice president, and that's why we see how differently the campaign has been conducted. You know, the behavior of the voter and the campaigners are very different in this election. I've been in elections since I was in my mother's womb.
Yes, I know. And you yourself are a public official.
Yes, I was mayor
You
for
were-
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, during
So-
Cory's time.
Right. What differences do you see?
Well, now there's for the campaign.
Yes.
Now it's because of social media, and it's easier to call people, and it's easier to get information. That's good. That's good. So that you get to know, what's happening. But what's the same is that we still have a weak political party system. And the political parties, their platforms are unclear. I've asked them to submit their gender development platforms, and it's vague or not there.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even have a women's committee.
Yes,
And
yes.
that we want to change that, because I'm chair of the Gender and Development Committee in Comelec. We want to
Yes.
change that.
Yes.
And so we still have a weak party system, and where women candidates are still about 18%. And that accounts for a lower number of women in our elective offices, because few women run. The political parties are not like, let's say, the United States or other countries where, they have clear party rules. They have even for conduct, for how they conduct themselves and how they discipline their party members. But it's very different here.
Okay.
So, and I've seen that, and I'm learning. We're learning from it. For example, election offenses,
Yes.
which did not happen before, are now filed in our law department, where Ms. Karunungan filed an election offense complaint against this men who threatened her with rape in the social media.
Yes. Okay, what are some of the election offenses that you did not see or you have not seen in past elections that you are now able to monitor?
Yes, that's it. That's one is the threats against campaigners or supporters.
That was non-existent in the past?
I don't think that was. I read the cases, and I've not read something like that, because
Okay.
before there was no social media.
I see.
Or
Okay.
the use of social media was not that strong as they do now.
Do you find that our
Vote buying
Oh.
is as usual. There are a lot of vote buying cases.
Okay, more
And,
rampant now than before?
I can't say now than before, because there are many pending vote buying cases with us.
Yeah, but so that's the only form of cheating that is happening so far. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that there is. I'm saying
No, but I mean it's only vote buying. There's
I'm
nothing.
saying they can't fake the transmission or tamper with it. So if they're going to cheat, they're probably going to buy votes.
Okay, in
But
the
that's
past,
very, very tedious, right? And very
Yeah.
expensive.
Yes. In the past, there were different methods, right? They had the cadena de amor. They had all of these methods of how to cheat. That they would have the carbon paper, all of these things. These have gone out the window.
No more.
No more.
No,
So
you-
are there new ways?
You can't even use the voter's receipt, because you will have to drop it in the box.
Okay.
All right.
So
before the teacher
Puts the
marks
ink.
the ink, the indelible
Yeah.
ink on the voter's finger,
Yeah.
the voter has to drop the
whoever
voter's receipt in the box.
Right. So whoever paid for your vote has no proof that you voted for whom she wanted you to vote for.
No proof.
No proof. So what's the use of vote buying?
I don't know.
Any other method that we have come up with to equal what we used to do? Or
Well,
what
the
used to
problem is
happen?
that the threats and violence.
But that existed even before.
It will still be used. I'm saying that it will probably still be used. That's why in some areas we place them under Comelec control.
Okay, are you anticipating a failure of elections anywhere?
Oh, I don't think so. Failure as in they can't vote. Okay, there will be failure of elections if the Board of Election Inspectors suddenly quit. if they threaten them or
Yeah.
they bomb this place.
Yeah.
But because of the machines, no. It's the election in that precinct will not go through if the Board of Election Inspectors are not there.
And there are 3 of them.
Yes,
All
and they
three of
all
them-
have a digital signature.
All 3 of them
Yes.
have access to the machine.
Well, yes, they have to,
Sign
you
in.
know, yeah, they have to sign in, pin in, right, before the
right.
machine starts up.
Okay. What kind of cases are you now seeing being filed at Comelec?
After this election,
No. Well, yes.
I think a lot of vote buying and a lot of threats of violence and election fraud violence.
But in this election, you laid out pretty stringent rules on how the campaign has to be conducted.
Well, not how the campaign is going to be conducted. I wanted to, but you see, the rules of Comelec, we leave it to the party to discipline their people, right?
Right, but
So-
don't you have guidelines for the kinds of posters that they
Oh
can
yes,
put
for
up?
campaign finance.
Yeah,
but for behavior,
the amount of minutes that are allowed
oh
for
yeah,
TV
all
ads.
of that is for fair elections. That's
Okay.
covered by the Fair Election Act
Okay.
and by our Comelec resolutions.
Are there many violations in this
It's to
campaign?
ensure that the poor get a fair share of the campaign
Yes.
by limiting what the rich can spend on.
Correct.
But of course, they probably under declare, no?
Yes.
Probably. And
Are you-
I see one candidate does a lot of materials, ball pens, a fan. I even got some, but only to show our campaign finance unit that these are the materials that
This is
are
the
being
evidence.
distributed.
Okay, are you going to hold them very strictly to
Oh
these
yes,
rules?
we have a very strict campaign finance commissioner, Commissioner Christian Robert Lim.
And what
Very
is-
strict, and we have disqualified some even incumbent governors.
Yeah, but can it be enforced? I mean,
Yes.
Yes, you'll be strict, but can it be enforced?
Oh yes, it's a case.
And while there's a
it's a
pending
case.
case, they can't hold office.
Well, until the case is final, the decision is final. Like one governor in Laguna was removed from office. That was overspending.
I see. In this campaign, have you seen? You were just saying that one candidate has a lot of paraphernalia, and you're
Yes.
seeing a lot of evidence of
Oh
this.
yeah, a lot. And some candidates whose supporters are very rich or they themselves are rich are just violating the rules. They put up these tarpaulins as big as a building.
Yes.
And
what is
3 stories high, and our election officers have to tell the owner, please take them down.
Yes.
Because that's an election offense.
Okay. Are you able to enforce it?
Yes, in Bacolod, in some places. Here in Mandaluyong, I think there was a huge poster of a presidential candidate, and they took it down, but only after a few days, right, or weeks. So it's a lot of work for our election officers. They have to tear down these posters because they're in public buildings and they're not allowed on public buildings.
Post-election, I mean after tomorrow, and you find violations, will you continue filing cases?
Well, either they have complainants or we can motu proprio on our own. The law
Alright.
department can file.
Okay, but they can say the elections are over, it's done with.
Oh, we have convicted quite a few
Okay.
whose terms have already finished.
Okay, speaking of cases, some cases have been filed against the Comelec. For example, this institution,
Rappler.
Rappler.
No, not against us, against Chairman Bautista.
Yes, against Chairman
But
Bautista.
not against the unbanked.
That's true. That's true. Okay, what happens to these cases? Dick Gordon filed a case against Comelec.
Well, we lost that one for voters'
right.
receipts.
All right. And the decisions of the Supreme Court went against Comelec.
We're really having not a lucky streak this year.
With the
To
Supreme
say
Court.
the least.
Yes. Beginning with Grace Paul, yes.
Yes, we worked so hard with that case.
Yes.
We studied so much. I lost a lot of sleep, and Commissioner Arthur Lim and I and our lawyers. But that's the Supreme Court. We are lawyers.
Okay, and you
We
honor
do our
their
best,
decisions.
and we have to comply.
Okay.
So now, in our decisions, when people file complaints to cancel our certificate of candidacy of presidential candidates, we have to look at that decision and say, you know, does it apply? Because if it applies, I'll have to dismiss this case tomorrow, or you know, or just one page I can say this is dismissed because of that case.
Okay, I want to go back. I'm curious about Rappler. What was happening at the time that Rappler filed the case against Chairman Bautista?
Well, it's because the chair entered into a memorandum of agreement with some networks, and as I said, it did not have the approval of the Anbang.
Okay, this was a unilateral decision on the part of the
Well,
chairman?
because he presented the project.
All right.
It was a good project.
Yes.
But
the debates.
Yeah, but we did not. The Anbang did not give the, you know, like this agreement with so and so. Okay, we put our stamp of approval in it. You can sign it.
All right.
Something like that.
Okay.
But so because he did not have, and I think Justice Leonen emphasized that in his separate opinion, that those agreements did not have the approval of the Anbang.
So Chairman Bautista was not right in eliminating a media.
That's what the Supreme
media
Court
group
said.
like-
the Supreme
like
Court ruled in
Rappler.
favor of Rappler.
Okay.
Because a government official or a government agency cannot, in layperson's language, discriminate
Yes.
against another entity when favoring others.
All right. Okay.
That's against the law.
Okay. And it's only the Supreme Court that can countermand any decision of the Comelec. Is
Yes,
that correct?
only the Supreme Court can issue a TRO, a temporary restraining order against us.
Uh-huh.
So some regional trial court judges have tried, and we just ignore it.
Yes. I think I've heard it mentioned in many elections that on election day, Comelec is king. That you're the most powerful institution.
And queen, yeah.
And
Because there's
queen,
one woman
yeah.
in the commission now.
All right, okay. let's use it as a unisex term.
All right.
You are the
We're the boss.
You're the boss. Tomorrow.
During the election period.
Okay, you're the boss. What can the boss do?
Well, we just make sure it's a fair election. It's clean.
No, I mean, can
it's
you arrest
credible.
people? Can you?
Oh, we
what-
can
what
have
are the
people
powers?
arrested, you mean? Oh,
Yes.
yes. I mean, if there's an election offense happening right before the eyes of our election officers, or a crime of let's say, vote buying has just been committed, they can have these people arrested.
The people at the precinct level.
Yeah. Or anywhere, if they see vote buying.
Is it like a
because
citizen?
that's in the rules of court. Yeah.
Is that like a citizen's arrest?
Yeah, like a warrantless arrest,
I
but for
see.
election offense.
Oh,
See,
okay.
because the election code is a special law, and it has penal sanctions. So the rules of courts also applies.
So all of the military that is deployed to the areas that you deployed them to are under your command.
Of course, under our jurisdiction.
Under your
You have a
jurisdiction.
gun ban. Nobody can carry firearms unless they have an exemption from the Comelec and Bank.
Okay. All
So
right.
if even police people who are not in uniform who are carrying firearms without a certificate of exemption, they can be arrested.
All right.
It's a lot of work actually, but
Yes.
it's because there's just so many
yes.
that will violate this probably. You know, we really don't have a lot of people, but when we catch them, we will pursue.
Yes. What are your, I mean, working towards tomorrow, what are your apprehensions? What are your fears?
Me personally,
Yes.
that I will lack sleep because we're on rotation. We're on rotation.
You can take back your sleep in about 5 days, maybe.
Yeah. So the older commissioners won't have night duty. We already agreed
So
yesterday.
I imagine that you're
Yes.
going to do all the
So
night duty.
Commissioner Art and I admit then that I'm over 50, just so
Yes.
I don't go on night duty, will not be on night duty.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, we already agreed.
I thought maybe you're the youngest in the commission and probably all the night shifts will go to you.
I hope so. But on the whole, it will be there will be long hours for us, for the commissioners. And of course, we have all these security risks that, you know, it's now normal to anticipate these.
Yes.
And it will be, we will be nearby. We will be sequestered.
In Manila. You'll be in Manila.
We'll be sequestered
Yes.
near the PICC.
Yes, okay.
I will put off my phones, and so I don't get calls from politicians. They probably won't call me.
Yes.
There's one who texted me, and I said, "How dare you?"
Oh, that was your curt reply?
Yeah, I said, "How dare you, Mayor?" And he said, "Oh, I'm very, very sorry, Commissioner. It won't happen again."
Okay. What do you expect to happen? For example, you said after the polls close tomorrow at 5 p.m., you're going to convene right away?
Yes, we're going there earlier
I
to
see.
open the computers for the
Okay.
canvassing because we each have a PIN code.
I see.
So we're going there like 2 o'clock. Put the PIN code, computers are open, canvassing is ready. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At 2 p.m.?
Yeah.
But
And then-
the polls haven't closed.
And that at 5, but to open the computers.
I see.
And then at 5 o'clock, I will supervise
Yes.
the counting of the local absentee ballots,
Uh-huh,
including the media people who voted local absentee.
Okay.
So the tabulation, the counting of the votes of local absentee voters will be in the GSIS. There's about 24,000.
It has not begun.
Not yet. It will be on tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
No, I mean the counting of the overseas. I mean, it
No,
already...
this is local absentee.
local absentee.
Yeah, this is
I
police,
see.
Air Force, Navy.
Media persons.
Yeah, teachers, media.
I see,
Those
okay.
BJMP, jail wardens. you know.
Yes, yes. And then it goes
We have about
right,
20,000 ballots for that to come.
Okay. And it goes right through until it finishes.
Yes, so overnight. Our people are ready. We can't stop counting until it's finished. So we'll just count 20,000 votes. That's not too much.
And then after that, I mean, it's continuous, right? You said you no stop, non-stop.
Non-stop. The local absentee voting counting is
Non-stop.
non-stop.
Okay.
Starting at a close of 5 o'clock.
All right.
So that we can upload the votes in the system.
And then after that,
And the detainee voting, they will also be uploaded from the precincts, but those that have, they voted for local officials,
Yeah.
the ballots will be sent to Manila and it will be counted manually. So all the votes will be counted.
what about the overseas votes?
They end on May 9. They also end on May 9. And
Their May 9?
Yes, their May 9.
Okay.
And their machines and ballots and everything will be brought back here.
Brought back?
As soon as possible.
But they will already transmit the results
Oh
to
yes.
you.
Oh yes, absolutely. There's a central
What is
there's
your
a
what is your
canvassing system.
What's your projection for when you can finish with finality all of the counting?
All? As in the senators?
Yes.
Oh, maybe a week from Monday.
A week?
They say that it's probably 7 days. At
that,
most.
that long?
Yeah, that long.
It's not instantaneous, as in, for
Well,
example...
because we want to wait, Cheche. We want to wait. Before, they were proclaiming top 3. And most of us said, let's not do that anymore. Let's proclaim the 12. Let's finish the entire to the last ballot.
Yes.
So that
yes.
the people will see that we did not
Trend.
Yeah,
or-
we did not preempt the people's will.
Yes. yes,
So
that's a good
we're
idea.
going to see the first top 12 and then proclaim them together.
Okay, let's go back to the voting receipts. Now, what has been the effect of putting in the voting receipts at a late hour, a rather late hour?
It's really it has really complicated our preparations, but Comelec was able to catch up with it to the credit of our IT people and everybody, because we had to reconfigure the machines. You see, those machines were not configured to issue a receipt. And when the Supreme Court decided against us, ordered us to do so, we had to reconfigure the machines again, right? So the final testing and sealing for all the machines ended yesterday.
Wow, it's a photo finish.
Yes, but it was done.
Okay.
So-
Does any other country that uses this kind of machine issue a receipt?
Probably, but not that I personally know of, because I've been to some conference and I saw the machines in a fair.
Yeah.
And like Taiwan probably is manual. India has their own system. They made their own machines.
Do we have the best kind of machines?
It's expensive for us because
Yes, yes.
we don't make these machines. And I really would hope that some Filipinos geniuses would make counting machine. And it's just a scanner.
It's just a scanner.
It is just a scanner.
Yes, yes.
But there are some inventors that are probably working on it now, including that young man who did it in his garage.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that and see if we can use it in 2019.
Okay.
Very expensive. Very expensive.
Yes.
Plus the internet modems is by satellite.
Yes.
Because if the network doesn't work, we have this, they call it the BGAN modem.
Okay.
That's by satellite.
Yes.
That can transmit.
But even if there is no
network
at all.
Yes.
Okay.
It's because Globe, Smart, PLDT, Sun, right?
Yes.
And so if all things fail, there's a satellite modem.
So it's like a backup. It's a backup.
Yeah.
Modem.
You know that USB thing.
Yes.
That internet device.
Yes.
When the teacher inserts it and it opens, the machine recognizes it. The machine will transmit the tabulation of the votes.
Okay. Any fears about? I'm thinking about when we were doing the manual kind of elections where there was failure of transmission because the lights went out.
Yes.
And all these scenarios where
Yes, that's really like
that's
horror.
a thing of the past.
Yeah, that's like a horror scenario, right?
Yes, but that
Lights-
scenario was
lights
so
go
real.
out, and
Yes.
you run out of batteries. The machine runs, but we have backup batteries now.
Okay.
That's good for 48 hours. Right. So
that has
we're
been-
more ready this time. Yeah. It's a more expensive election.
Yes, yes.
For the country.
Yes.
That's why I'm very, I'm
Are you
very
optimistic?
aware of
Yeah.
these expenses as former commissioner of COA.
Yes.
That is why I really, if I see that it will violate the procurement law, I say no. I vote no.
Okay. Are you optimistic? You have said that you're optimistic about this election, right?
I'm optimistic
The
that
success of the
yes,
voting process.
Yes, it will be successful.
If-
There will be no failed election.
Okay. If you had a wish list to make it more perfect, what would be on that wish list?
This election, I wish that not just the technology, but that the political parties that participate will have find some common ground that to ensure credible elections, they should also cooperate.
In what sense?
Instead of before the elections, most of these candidates are already saying that this automated system can be cheated, etc. When they have participated in the tests and the meetings, they were represented. They are all invited.
Okay.
Aside from that, there's non-file and PPCRV. You can't have a perfect. Even the manual elections was very imperfect.
Yeah.
But the people saw their ballot counted.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people still prefer that to a machine that you can't see how it's counting your votes.
Yes.
So the people have a distrust, no?
Yes.
With machines. But since 2010, we had a successful presidential election.
Yes. With your
There's no reason why this better technology now will fail.
Okay. Why are you saddened by the candidates alluding to possible cheating?
Because there's one difficult scenario for Comelec to face is if these candidates lose and they will say we cheated them.
You think they're conditioning the minds of the public?
Probably. I heard one lawyer say on the radio that cheating can be done this way and that way, and
Is there
they're not doing their clients a favor by saying those things. It's like telling your client, if you lose, it's not my fault. It's because you were cheated. All lawyers will say that.
Yes.
But let's be fair.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. All of them were invited to all these tests and meetings. And there's a random manual audit, by the way, by Commissioner Louis Gia. The machine will raffle which precincts the random manual audit team will go to. They're ready. They're going to, once that precinct, let's say in Quezon City, is for random manual audit, the ballot box will be open.
And you're
It will be
manually
counted
counted.
manually to match. Right.
When is this going to be done?
Oh, well, after it's transmitted.
After the
Yeah,
transmission.
Yeah. So to test if the election returns produced by the machine, I mean by the tabulation produced by the machine,
Yeah.
will tally with the manual vote.
Okay.
And that's very tedious.
Yes.
But for the sake of, credible elections, the Commission on Elections will conduct random manual audit.
Okay, you're saying that it's unfair for the candidates to say that there's possible cheating. What is a fair statement that can be made by the candidates to calm fears about cheating?
We cannot control what they say, but at the least they can just. This is like they can't campaign today, so they will be, they shouldn't be panicking and saying, "Oh, I'm going to be cheated here and there," because their organizations, I'm sure, they're relying on their organizations to deliver their votes.
Yeah.
I think at this time they should just focus on assuring their voters that you go to the precinct and your vote will be counted. Because if you say it's not going to be counted, why will I go? If you're already telling me they're going to cheat us, it's not going to be counted, so why will the voter go?
Yeah.
I think that it's a disservice to their clients if they say we're going to be cheated because their voters won't go. A few hours, we're only, less than 24 hours.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
to E-Day.
Yes.
And the best thing to say is that we're all ready. Get ready. Go to the polls early. And we have a priority lane for persons with disability, elderly, pregnant women.
Senior
and
citizens.
Yes, senior citizens and women who have children. We have ordered the daycare centers of the cities, towns, and provinces to open at 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock so they can drop their kids and the mothers can vote. This is to make sure that the women's vote is generated and can be counted. Because, Cheche, there are 1.48 million more women than
This
male
year?
voters. Yeah,
Oh.
that's a lot. That's
Yes.
1.8 million more women are voting. That's 28 million women are voting.
Okay, how has that figure become so big?
Well, because younger people, probably our population is half women and men, but there are more women who are
more active.
registering. Maybe women are more patriotic.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
they're more para sa bayan to, para sa mga anak to.
Spoken like a woman. I have to say, spoken like a woman.
But we'll see if there's a woman's vote. We'll
Yes,
see.
yes, that
Because
should
we
be
don't
interesting.
have.
That should be
Unlike
interesting.
Scandinavian countries where there's a woman's vote.
Yes.
They have women's votes in Norway, Sweden, etc. because they have women's unions. They have labor unions for women
Just for women.
because women have jobs.
Yes.
Yes, in the Philippines, women don't have jobs.
Well, they have
They
jobs,
have jobs,
they're,
but lower
they're,
paid.
they're in the informal sector.
Yes, and they're lower paid.
Yes,
and
yes.
then they're not paid at home.
Yes.
for work at home.
uh-huh.
So let's see, because I'm very interested in this gender equality
Issue, yeah?
reforms in
Yes.
the Commission on Elections.
What kinds of reforms are you advocating?
Oh, for example, we want to encourage the political parties to field at least 30% women in their for candidates, either voluntarily or by law. And then
By law?
Or by law, yes. So after this, by June, I will be going around the country to generate this from political parties, NGOs, and voters. Plus, we're going to encourage more women to vote and run in the barangay elections, where
Fantastic.
women will have an easier time and less expensive election in the barangay. So
Okay, and speaking of one other item, election reform. No? One of the vice presidential candidates, Lenny Robredo, has said that the current system of elections here makes it difficult for women or for people who don't have access to funds,
Yes.
for money, to be able to run.
especially women.
Okay.
Because it's expensive, and then
Yes.
there's triple burden. You have
Yes.
to take care of the kids and all that. So there's really less women running,
Are you-
and the political parties are not helping.
Okay.
So if they want a law, then perhaps we can lobby in Congress to pass that law, or voluntarily they can agree with Comelec, gender and Development Committee, for example, that okay, for the next elections, we're going to increase our number of candidates. But in other countries, there's an incentive. In other countries, there's the funding incentive for political parties.
What do you mean? They're subsidized?
Yes, by the state. Yeah.
Oh.
So if they have like 40% women, they have a certain kind of fund for campaign funds, etc.
I see.
So,
Uh-huh.
I thought about one easy way also to generate more women candidates by political parties. You know, we count the number, the point system. We have a point system for dominant minority and dominant majority parties.
Yes.
Because they get more, you know, entitlements in terms of, what do you call it?
Tax deductions?
Canvassing, during the canvassing, etc. I'm thinking that because we can just do this at the commission level, that we can add the points to political parties that have at least 30% women
What points?
candidates. Because we count the points.
Uh-huh.
Let's say let's say NP has so many city mayors. How many points? So many municipal mayors. How many
I
points?
see,
Governors,
I see.
etc.
Okay,
Candidate
okay.
for president,
Uh-huh,
etc.
uh-huh.
So if I'm thinking to add points across the board for each political party that has reached at least 30% women, you know, for the total number
Yes.
of candidates. nationwide.
Did you decide on 30% as a random number, or is this
Well, because that's the lowest.
representative?
30 is between 30 to 50 when you're working for gender equality. The lowest is 30. It should ideally be at
50.
least 40. The median is 40, but
Yes.
target for 50. And not just by the number of women,
Yeah.
but the quality of the political parties' platforms for women. It's very important
Yes.
that we vote officials who have a clear agenda and platform for women according to their political parties, so that we can the behavior of voters will also change. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh,
view women differently.
Yes, instead of now what is it? Popularity.
Tokenism.
Yes, and tokenism. And we see a lot of women running now who are mayors, who are wives of their husbands, who have already finished the 3 terms.
Yes, but sometimes they're related to dynastic rules.
Oh, they are mostly.
As opposed to being qualified on their own.
Yes, they're mostly.
Yes.
And because it's expensive to run.
Yes, it
So
is.
in the barangay elections, women, I hope, more women will be running because it will be less expensive. And in the community level, the voters know who they're voting for on a personal level. So women have more chances because they serve in church,
Yeah.
they serve in the health center, they are barangay nutrition scholars, and they attend the PTA and things like that. And they belong to women's livelihood orgs, and we have a lot of women in the communities, in the barangay who are like that.
That's right, and hopefully better quality women, so that it raises the quality of the political life in our country.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not Comelec's job, but we would like to participate in training.
I'm glad
in training these women, so that when they become candidates, they will be equipped. We're willing to work with NGOs.
Yes, but
in this regard.
It's good news that you're taking the initiative to do that. When it's not really your major responsibility. But that's
no,
good to know.
but since gender equality in elections is our mandate, then it all falls into the package.
Okay.
How do you encourage more women to run?
Okay.
It becomes part of our job.
Okay. If I were to ask you as a final question, what reminders do you want voters to remember before they go to the polls tomorrow?
Okay. Eat a good breakfast, because you might be in line for a long time.
All right. You anticipate that?
Yes.
Eat a good breakfast. Okay, that sounds good. Okay.
And make sure you already have your own decision, at least while you're falling in line.
Yes,
so that you can speed up, the shading of the ballots.
Yes.
You don't have to think too long while you're
Yes.
inside there.
Okay.
You have to be ready. Who do you vote for?
Yes.
Make a list in your head, and make sure your ballot's clean and shade it fully. so that it
Alright.
will be counted.
Okay.
And make sure your ballot has no marks because it will be invalidated.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Rowena Guanzon.
Thank you, Cheche.
Our women's advocate at the Comelec and a very competent and confident commissioner for tomorrow's elections. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Cheche.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Rapper.
much. Yeah. That was Comelec Commissioner Rowena Guanzon. We'd like to invite you to catch the interview with her on our PH Vote live blog. We'll be back with you in a few minutes with UP Political Science Professor and Assistant Vice President for Public Affairs, Ranjit Rai. Stay with us.